everything in nature is sustainable cycles. It does not grow at all costs. The only thing that grows at any cost in nature is cancer. And we either have to cut that out or kill those cells because they will eat everything in the body for its own gain, for its own betterment. That cancer, it won't care about the ecosystem that is your body. It will just eat through every single tissue and energy source that you have so that it can grow. The only thing in nature that grows forever is cancer, and we have our economic system modeled after it. Hello, and welcome back to Bri Speaks podcast. I am your host, Bri Speaks, who created the 6 narcissistic social hierarchies of control. The 6 narcissistic social hierarchies of control are patriarchy, capitalism, corporatism, racism, ableism, and religion. And so all of those are the systems that unconsciously or unknowingly control all of our thoughts, minds, and actions. And I am helping us deconstruct them so we can all get rid of them and live happier, better, freer lives. So today's topic of conversation is under capitalism and the need for growth at all costs, and how that mentality, the mentality of growth at all costs, one, of course, a narcissistic point of view, because it's an inverted. So, narcissism is individual over all. One is better than other. It's hierarchy. It's someone has more value than somebody else. And so capitalism saying that we need to grow at all costs, capitalists feel that way so that they can beat their competitors, so they can be better than their competitors. And then from a countrywide perspective, they want to be more powerful or more valuable or be able to dominate or be over or control. All narcissists want control other countries. And so the mentality that every single quarter I have to grow my stocks, every year I have to be better than last year, I have to make more than last year, or else it's like literally my old CEO at my old job, one of her mottos was, if you're not growing, you're dying. And that mentality, that is the capitalist mentality. But I understand her perspective, because in a world where everyone is growing and consuming, all companies are growing and consuming market share, consuming more money, consuming more supplies, revenue, partnerships, whatever. And then they're conglomerating, and then they're coming together, becoming more powerful. If you stay the same in that environment, then you will be vulnerable to be eaten or stepped on or stamped out by one of these bigger giant competitors. So in that perspective, if you are not growing, then you are dying. But so relative to other companies, but in nature, which is how everything in this world should be modeled after, because nature nature is God. God didn't unless someone on this here planet Earth is going to tell me that God, who created Earth, nature, the way that the planets, the suns, that God, the creator with a capital T, you tell me they did something wrong? She did something wrong? She didn't know what she was doing. This planet Earth has been here for billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of years across different timelines. If you want to go there, we can get in. I'm going to talk to y'all about metaphysics one day. Strap on for that one. It's going to be a fun ride. But across different timelines, dimensions, God created all of this, and you're telling me God created us. We are a creation of God. We are God. God is us, the creation process. Anyways, that's the whole thing. But you're gonna tell me that they're wrong and you are right. That the way that everything in nature is sustainable cycles. It does not grow at all costs. The only thing that grows at any cost in nature is cancer, and we either have to cut that out or kill those cells because they will eat everything in the body for its own gain, for its own betterment. That cancer, it won't care about the ecosystem that is your body. It will just eat through every single tissue and energy source that you have so that it can grow. The only thing in nature that grows forever is cancer, and we have our economic system modeled after it. But it's not funny, y'all, but when you really sit down and think about the way the world is put together, it is so dumb. It is literally against nature, antithetical to nature. Everything that is nature, that is God, that God created. The laws, physics, math, common sense, God patterns, everything in the world that works, that God made, that is not right, and we should model our things after something else. Okay, sorry, I'm done. So sorry, just when I sit and I think about it, it just pisses me off. It just pisses me off. And is destroying the planet. And so the following story I'm telling you is from the author Daniel Quinn, from his story of B, the story of B, which is the sequel to his story Ishmael. And if you haven't read Ishmael, you should leave, go read the book, and then come back. And then if I do start a book club, Ishmael is going to be the first one I do, because it's like such a good foundation for everything that is wrong with the world. And then you put my narcissistic hierarchies in there, and then you put, like some more spiritual stuff in there because Ishmael is very science, is very biology, and that's fantastic. But it was written by a white man, or white people. White people are very logical, and I love that. But they are such a separatist mentality. They love to separate like people into different pieces, whereas other like indigenous people from across the globe, they always look at everything together, everything as a whole, everything as one. So like white people like to look at religion in one sector, your body in another sector, your mind in another sector, your consciousness in another sector, like just all is separate, and then you have all these like specialties and silos, whereas everything that is East, like I don't want to call it Eastern medicine, but it's just like, because it wasn't even just the East, it was Native Americans too. It was all indigenous people. This is how the world worked, y'all, before the Europeans came and destroyed everything. So Daniel Quinn has an excellent like European mentality, sciencey take on nature and how nature and God work together. But I would like to be more holistic, because it still doesn't go deep enough. Y'all don't understand how deep it gets. It's always deeper than you think. It's all like deep, like it's always deeper. I can't explain it. So anyways, why the world is on fire. The story is about a group of scientists who were experimenting with population growth in mice. All right, let's make it a thought experiment. If you have a population of animals and you give those animals enough food to feed everyone, will the population A, grow, B, shrink, C, stay the same? If you have a population of animals and you give all of the animals enough food to eat, will the population grow or shrink or stay the same? All right, so here's the story.
3 demonstrations. Let me spend a few minutes now outlining a series of demonstrations that will clarify the issues I've raised here. This is demonstration number 1. Into a nice roomy cage, we introduce 2 young healthy mice. The cage has a built-in feeder that enables us to make food available to the mice in any quantity we like. After installing the 2 mice, we shove in 2 kilos of food. This is obviously much more than 2 mice need, but that will do, and you'll soon see the point of it. Next day, we take out the feeder, discard the uneaten food, and replace it with another 2 kilos. We do this every day. Soon the 2 mice become 4. The 4 become 8. The 8 becomes 16. The 16 become 32. This population growth confirms the fact that these mice have plenty of food. We continue to put in 2 kilos of food every day, and as time goes on, more and more of it is eaten. This isn't a surprise, because there are more and more mice eating it. Eventually, there comes a day when all of it is eaten. No matter. We continue to put 2 kilos of food in the cage every day, and every day the 2 kilos of food are eaten. Now guess what happens to that population, which has been growing so busily from day 1 of the demonstration? It stops growing. It levels off. Again, this is no surprise at all. As we continue to supply 2 kilos of food a day, we count the mice daily for a year and see that the population fluctuates between 280 and 320, with an average of 300. 2 kilos of food every day will maintain about 300 mice. That's demonstration 1. Demonstration 2 begins much the same way. Cage, 2 mice. This time, however, we follow a different procedure. Instead of putting in the same amount of food every day, we start with 1 amount and increase it daily. However much the pair of mice eat the first day, we put in 50% more the second day. However much they eat the second day, we put in 50% more the third day. Before long, there are 4 mice. No matter, we follow our procedure. Whatever they eat in a day, we put in 50% more the next. Before long, there are 8 mice, 16 mice, 32 mice. No matter, whatever they eat in one day, we put in 50% more the next. 64 mice, 128, 250, 500. Whatever the mice eat in one day, we put in 50% more the next, carefully extending the size of the cage as needed to avoid stressful overcrowding. 2,000, 4,000, 8,000, 16,000, 32,000, 64,000. At this point, someone runs in and yells, "Stop! Stop! This is a population explosion!" Golly, I guess you're right. What shall we do? I have a suggestion. Let's start by answering this question. How much did the 64,000 mice eat yesterday? Answer, 500 kilos of food. Okay. Ordinarily, we put 7,500 kilos of food into the cage tomorrow, but let's abandon that procedure now. Our new procedure will be based on this theory. Yesterday, 500 kilos was enough for them. So why shouldn't 500 kilos be enough for them today? So today, we put just 500 kilos of food into the cage. Same as yesterday. Now watch closely. There are no food riots. Or should there be? The mice have just as much to eat today as they did yesterday. Now watch closely again. No mice are starving. Why would there be? I forgot to mention it. The population explosion stopped overnight. What else could it do? Population growth has to be supported by increased food availability. Always. Without exception. Less food, decline. More food, growth. Same food, stability. That's what we've got here. Stability. Demonstration 3. This demonstration is identical to demonstration 2 right up to the end. 64,000 mice, 500 kilos of food, stability. Charges in and says, who needs 64,000 mice? These mice are eating us out of house and home. What's special about 64,000 mice anyhow? Why not 8,000? Why not 4,000? Oh my, what a crisis. Quick, check the yellow pages. See if anyone makes condoms for mice. What? No condoms for mice? Well, look under family planning. What? No family planning for rodents? No. You know this would not be the reaction. You know this because you understand the B and the ABCs of ecology. We don't need birth control. All we need is food control. Someone says, here's what we do. Yesterday, 500 kilos of food went into the cage. Today, we'll reduce that by a kilo. Oh no, objects. A kilo is too much. Let's reduce it by 1/4 of a kilo. So that's what they do. 499 3/4 kilos of food go into the cage. Tension in the lab as everyone waits for food riots and famine. But of course, there are no food riots and no famine. Among 64,000 mice, 1/4 of a kilo of food is like a flake of dandruff apiece. Tomorrow, 499.5 kilos of food go into the cage. Still, no food riots and no famine. This procedure is followed for 1,000 days, and not once is there a food riot or a famine. After 1,000 days, only 250 kilos of food are going into the cage. And guess what? There are no longer 64,000 mice in the cage. There are only 32,000. Not a miracle, just a demonstration of the laws of ecology. A decline in food availability has been answered by a decline in population. As always, semper et ubique. Nothing to do with riots, nothing to do with famine. Just the normal response of a feeder population to the availability of food.
Okay, so let's chat about what we just listened to. So I was looking for a part that actually talked about why humanity has so many famines and how we farm in order to avoid famines, but because we keep creating surpluses of food and we keep growing, and our goal is always growth and profits, which means grow more products, grow more food, sell more food, give it to more governments, food. Um, that surpluses food is causing the population of the world to continuously grow. If you have this very large population of people on this land, and this land is not created to sustain this large amount of people, the moment there's any sort of crop failure, then you have famine. That is where famine comes from. Famine comes from the fact that we are farming so much. We are making more people than the earth can naturally sustain. And so that whenever our systems that we created that will continuously take more and more labor, when our systems fail, then we will have famine. People don't realize that in the last 10,000 years since we have been practicing like industrial agriculture, essentially, the human population has doubled I think the first doubling was in 2,000 years, and then the next doubling from that was 12,000 years, or was 1,800 years later, and the next doubling from that was 1,500 years, and the next doubling from that was 800 years, and the next doubling from that. Our last doubling was in the 1960s, I think, was our last doubling, and that was in like 30 years. I think from 1960s to the 90s to the 90s. Was only 30 years, and the human population on Earth doubled in that 30 years. And so with that trajectory of doubling quicker and quicker and quicker, since we are making more technology to make more food, which makes more surpluses, which makes more people, we are on track. I mean, we probably would have doubled since the last time. So hold on, let me see. When was the last population? 2022. There it is. The last time Earth's population doubled was in 2022, when the global population reached 8 billion. This milestone was hit in November 2022, doubling the 4 billion mark that was reached in 1974. So we just doubled. It took 48 years for the population to double this most recent time. Yeah, so our last doubling landmark was just 4 years ago. We just doubled again to 8 billion. But before agriculture, mind you, our population was doubling once every 19,000 years. Every 19,000 years we were doubling, and then we were like, oh, actually, I'll just take it from here, God. I'll grow my own food. Thanks for what you've been providing, but I think I've got this. And now we've doubled our population to the point where now we have famines. There was never a famine before 10,000 years ago. A famine didn't exist. If there isn't enough food for people, the population, well, first of all, again, these are humans. These are not, people think 10,000 years ago humans were these, I guess that like they had less intelligence. People think that less knowledge means less intelligence, and that's not true. We had less knowledge before, even though I feel like we didn't. I hesitate to say we had less knowledge. because we had a better understanding of the world, even if it wasn't at such granular detail. And I feel like, honestly, having a big picture of how the world works is better and more important than having this granularized details of everything. Because when you get lost in the details, you can't see the big picture. You can't see the trees through the forest. You can't see the forest through the trees if you're too close. And I feel like we've gotten so close into how every single thing works as an individually, we have completely lost track of how the world works as a whole, how life works as a whole. And so because of that, now the world is on fire. So bringing us back to capitalism, we have to change the goals of our systems. And that is globally. I'm just a person on the internet, but as a person on the internet who has been studying human existence, who as an ADHD woman who his entire hyper focus for her entire life has basically been the human existence. And again, I'm gonna make a video on that because it gets deep, but I've been zooming out big picture what's going on for a very long time, and this has led me to Daniel Quinn, which is such a hey, shout out to him, a great author. Well, he's a great person at delivering a complex message in a simple way. So I love that for him. And one of his biggest messages in his books were that we're looking at, we're looking at greed, we're looking at corporations, we're looking at, racism, sexism, all my capitalisms, all my things, which are excellent, but we're not looking, but the actual problem, because I've always had a problem with growth being the problem. As a person who understands nature, how biology, life, how life works, I have never been okay with the fact that when you go into a business, your goal from the moment you step in there is how can we get more? How can we get more? How can we get more? And I'm telling you, y'all, I think that mentality of capitalism is extracted from this age of humanity that has come and took over the world, is this mentality of like, let me have more land so I can grow more crops, so I can feed, so I can have more for next time, so I can have more for next time, so I can have more for next time. And never having faith that there will always be enough, that there will be enough for the people who are here. And so that under like the knowledge that humans gained that they could again, this mentality of more, my, me over everyone else, very bred out of the European, like, I don't want to call it Middle Eastern, but like it's a very small select group of people who birthed this mentality. But because the mentality was a powerful one, like that's the thing, it is taking over agriculture and making all the food for you and your family and your descendants, and then taking the land, and then having everyone in such close proximity, and then having everyone work together to create this product that is the thing that is sustaining your life, becomes a cult of survival. It becomes a cult of power structure, of power dynamics, because now we got people doing the farming, doing the laboring, versus the people who don't have to, but they own the stuff. Like the creation of that mentality came from a small amount of people, but it was so powerful because you could control people, so you can control large hordes of people. And then you can create armies, which is how you can create armies when you own land and you do agriculture in this way. You can like create armies, and then you can use that force of any humans in sync working at once under one control to dominate other cultures who are not necessarily like not working together as a unit to accumulate power for the purpose of force and domination, right? So if you have power dispersed across the people and everyone has essentially their own power, their own sovereignty over themselves, and they can have the ability to go out into nature and get their own food, and no one can take that from them because it's nature and it doesn't belong to anyone. So everyone just goes to get food when they feel like it. That is like all the powers in each individual person for what they want to do with their life. And that is excellent for equality, but it is bad for putting that power together and using it to take over something else. So because indigenous cultures had such a fierce understanding of the individual sovereignty and uniqueness of each individual person, whenever the European people and the agriculturalists came and they had exerted this dominance and control over such a large group of people, technically, the indigenous ways of life of people living with the land, living, in one with the land, working with the land in a sustainable way, of course that life got dominated. But because the way that we do agriculture now, the way that we are always like growth, always more, because that is unsustainable, now we are seeing birth rates finally decline. But the problem is like it's declining because there isn't enough food. There isn't enough food. People are dying, people are starving, people are doing anything to cover up the pain. Like because there isn't enough for everyone, because there are too many people on the planet now, and then all of the resources aren't distributed equally. So now population is declining because there's not enough. But that's because one, there's too many in the first place. But the thing is like there is enough. There is still enough for us now and the human beings and the animals. Like for everyone who is left currently, it's still enough for everyone to have food, to have enough to eat, to have enough to sleep, and and not have the population keep growing. If we have enough where we can create something sustainable, where everyone could eat food, everyone would, and there's no conglomeration of power anywhere. Like that's the problem. Like governments were created because of the hierarchy that was created when people started farming in this totalitarian agricultural way. It created the first narcissistic hierarchy, which was humans. Humans, I'm telling y'all, humans are the first narcissists on planet Earth. They they said humans over all ecological life, which are like, just like plants. I said humans over all animals, obviously, humans over all birds in the sky, and humans over all creatures in the ocean, which is just like, so that is that. And it's okay whenever it's like one individual human saying, I'm gonna opportunistically, take out this, I don't know, I'm like, what is this bear or this, I got an elk or something. Like if it was a one human or one family and they took out an animal to feed themselves, one, that is just a part of the cycle of life. So it's not, evil. It's just like, okay, now those humans will eat and then they will digest the food. The food will go into the ground. The ground will help grow something else that the elk will eat, and then something else will eat, and then we can eat another elk. It's like, it's not bad to be a part of the cycle of life, but it's bad when you say, actually, no. No, and I'm gonna destroy all the lions so that they can't have the elk. I'm gonna destroy all the bears so that they can't have the elk. I'm gonna destroy all the foxes so that they can't have the elk. I'm gonna destroy all the hyenas. Like that's when it gets bad. But humans were just like, nah, me first. Anywho's, so yeah, humans were the first narcissists doing this agricultural crap, and then men were like, actually, since I'm the strong person, I'll take over from here. And then the patriarchy was born. And then religion was like, oh, we need someone to we gotta have a way to make them believe. So then we got religion, and then it's just like, oh, all the religious people, they have all the money. Now we got classism. And it's just like, oh, all the poor white people, they're upset. Now we got racism. And then I'm like, oh, all the poor black people, they're upset. Now we got homophobia-ism. Homosexual people are upset. Let's do transism. OMG, all the trans people are upset. Let's take out the kids. The kids were easy targets. What are we gonna do after the kids? Like the elderly, of course, they need to take out the elderly. And then after the elderly, then it's back to women again, I guess. Anyways, that was my spiel. Because people are always wondering, like, what's a better economic system? And it's like, whatever economic system we put in place, the goal of that system cannot be growth. The goal of that system has to be sustainability, sustainable population, sustainable like living for everyone. Like literally, y'all, we can just pick, like we could just start right now. I don't know how you make a petition or whatever, but we could start right now and say, dear governments, we do not want to grow any of any population from now and here on out. And so from now and here on out, we would like to have just enough food to feed the people who are here, no more, no less. And that's that. And then slowly but surely we wouldn't grow anymore. We wouldn't grow anymore. And then once we're not growing and we have sustainable systems that can feed everyone, then we don't have to fight. Like we're fighting because we want more. And it's like, there's no more to be had. There's nothing left. It's literally nothing left. It's if we try to get more as a society, we will destroy the planet. We are destroying the planet. We destroy it as we speak. I'm just like, part of me is like, okay, if it's going to get destroyed, let it happen. But the way that it's happening, it's just going to be like, it's going to be sad. It's going to be slow. It's going to be full of pain and suffering. I'm just like, I'm ready for the nukes. If we're going to do it, just do it hard all at once and Earth can start the rehealing process. But if that's not what everybody wants and people want to live, then we need to start working smarter, not harder. Like the reason why these people want growth is because the population is being led by men, and men feel like they want dominance over other men. And because those men want dominance over other men, they have to get bigger, faster, stronger so that they can beat up other men and other governments so that they can take it over. So really the only way that this could end is literally one dominating world power. Like that's the only way that there would be no fighting. But even then, because of it is dangerous. That would be dangerous. That would be dangerous to have one way of life for every single person on this planet. Like, it is a good thing to have different cultures, different languages, different customs, different music, different people, different ways of life. It is a good thing, because if the moment that the way of life of one culture is like becomes cancer, becomes toxic, that one way of life for humans would die out, but everyone else would still live. Like, that is biology, that is the universe, that is God, that is God. God favors like diversity. God favors abundance at all times. Ask me how many hairs are on my head. You couldn't tell me. How many blades of grass are on this ground? You couldn't tell me. How many leaves, how many types of trees are there now, and have there ever been, and how many trees will there ever be? How many mammals have there been, and have there ever will be? How many? God, it makes abundance. Okay. And then, but God is a God of diversity. It's like, what? So how many cells in my body are there? Like there are so many cells, but like each of the cells are also different. Like, you could pull one cell out of my body and pull another cell out of my body, and you'll know this is a cheek cell and this is a blood cell versus like this is an eyeball cell. Like even though each of those cells has my DNA in it, and that DNA has every single thing that you need in order to replicate me, like that one blood cell has every single piece of code needed to make an entire human being, but that one blood cell also has its own unique DNA that is special to that one unique blood cell, and there are billions of blood cells. So I'm just like, so God favors diversity in all ways, shapes, and form, no matter what, like diversity and abundance. And so to have the state of the world be the way it is, it just makes you wonder, why is it that these corporations, these governments, these large power hoarding entities want us all to be the exact same? That is literally antithetical to God. That is the opposite of what God wants, what God has created, what God shows each of us. That is the opposite. God favors diversity, but these people want us to all be the same. These people want all this power so that they can control everything, so that they can be God, so that they can feel like that they are God, which is like, I say everyone is God. God is inside all of us. And it is true. But, God is a God of duality, of positive and negative energy, of yin and yang. God is a God of abundance and creation. God also has a destroy button. God has a destroy button. God, like, if you are going against life, if God makes something that goes against life, it gets destroyed. It's like, oops, tried that, didn't work. And so, hey, these guys can try to be God and be the God. They are a creation of God, and we are a creation of God. And if we are doing things that favor life, we will keep having life. But if we do things that favor death, God has no choice but to deliver. God is a God of abundance and creation, but if you go against abundance and creation, God will destroy you. Like that's, I don't know, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. So that's what's happening. So, yep. We cannot go to a world controlled by one person, culture, political party, or thing, for it would land us in total and utter destruction very quickly. And thus, we need to stay as a diverse set of people, cultures, and things across the globe. And so, we need to just keep it the way it is. We need to just keep it the way it is right now, as it is. Like, no more people, no more dominance, no more taking over. We could just stop. We could just stop if these men would freaking let their egos die, but they won't. And so that's when women across the globe might have to make a large scale coordinated effort to, matriarchy now. That is my goal and my wish, is if there's a secret organization out there who are recruiting women to be secret agents and go underground to do large, long-term scale coordinated efforts, call me. My number is 555. No, I'm just kidding. But no, really, send me an email or a message on TikTok, because that is what needs to happen. It's like, we need new leadership. That's what we need. We need new leadership, because the current leaders, they think from a masculine point of view. They think from a destruction point of view. They think from a self-serving point of view. They think from a narcissistic point of view. They don't think from the collective point of view, the life point of view, the everyone point of view. It's like, it's just like, y'all, there are just so many solutions in the world to so many things. Like, even from something like the way that we solve the world's problem is stop making the goal growth, stop making the goal more money, more GDP, more products, more services. We need to make the goal sustainability. How can we sustain what we have? How can we sustain what we have? How can we sustain what they have? That's it. That needs to be a global mission for everybody. No one needs to get bigger. No one needs to get, well, some people need to get smaller. And, actually, I feel like that probably would be the best solution, is distribute all of the, like, I don't know, the political power needs to be split equally across the world, no matter what the GDP is. And then whatever your GDP is, now your goal, boop, 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 is to keep your GDP and population the same for the rest of eternity. Be in. Like, that's how we save the world. It's like sustainability. Like, we need to create systems that can go on forever without hurting or without taking anything more, or putting out anything awful for anyone else. Or that's what we need. And yeah, so and then everyone gets an equal vote. Every country gets an equal vote. We need I don't know, a political, well, no. First of all, we really need to give the power back to the people, in the way that I'm a big fan of direct access to resources. I don't want to have to go through the government or go through a job. I don't have to go through anybody to get the things I need. I want local community gardens and on every street, so that people can just go get the food they need whenever they need it. They don't need to go to work for it. They don't need to sign up for a paperwork. They don't need to do nothing. They can go outside with their 2 feet, walk down the street, and pick out however much food that they need for their meal that day or tomorrow. Yeah, people need direct access to food, and like carpentry classes. Everyone should be able to build a house if they want to build a house, and eat food from the natural community garden. And that's it. Like, I just feel like the solutions are not that hard. The solutions are not that hard. Everyone's like, oh my God, crime is so bad. And it's like, if everyone had access to education, everyone had access to, a decent standard of living, like, there would be no crime. We know that if you put preventative measures, the crime goes down. Like, we know that crime comes from poverty. We know that crime comes from lack of opportunity. We know that crime comes from all this stuff. But instead of putting better schools in a poor neighborhood, instead of putting more opportunities in a poor neighborhood, they put more police in a poor neighborhood. Like, what'll like bring crime down, but instead of doing that, you do the opposite. You just add more force, apply more force these people to do what I say, force these people to do what I say, force these people to do what I say, instead of giving them what we know that they need. Like the solutions are there. The solutions are there, and people just don't. I guess they feel like they just, like, it's like maybe it'll be too easy, or like, no, it's not that. It is the fact that narcissists are running the world, and they know the solutions, and they don't want to take the route of the solutions because it would take away their power, and all they want is power. So, yeah, that is it. I guess I'm gonna just, stop there. Matriarchy now. And if there's that secret society, if you're watching, call me. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this and you've learned anything today, feel free to donate to my Cash App at Bri Speaks the number 2, or supporting by buying anything off of my Free to ADHD website. You can get my Free to ADHD hoodie, or you can also get a copy of my Narcissistic Social Hierarchies of Control as a PDF, so you can have it printed out on a blanket or on your wall or as a carpet, or hey, what you do with it is your business, but you can have it, and I'd appreciate it if you bought it. I'm glad we're all on the same page. All right, thanks for listening. If you stayed all the way to the end, please do put an upside down triangle in the chat. That represents the collective over the individual. That represents all of us working together for a better and a happier and more sustainable future. Yeah, it is my, like, reverse hierarchy, reverse Illuminati sign. Symbolism is important because it's deeper than you think. Everything is deeper than you think. That is all. All right, I'll talk to you later next time. Bye-bye.